Oh, they sent me something new too. Okay. All right. And are we ready to go? We are ready to go. Oh, sucky. Now it is Saturday. Welcome. It is just Sister Roo with MaWu Lisa Temple. Yes, we are back. Nick and Roo, UnRead Book Review. Did you miss us? Yes, they did, because we both got messages like, bring it back. You know what we was doing? We was getting ready for you. And we are back today. We are better than ever. We are feeling strong, ready, and we are in the midst of fall studies. It's getting chilly. So now it's time to wrap up with these books. So, hey, if you see something that we bring to you and you decide to pick it up and read it, let us know. Now, Mawulisatemple Temple is in the beautiful upstate New York, Hudson Valley. Like I said, it's getting chilly up here, but nonetheless, it's still one of the most beautiful places I've ever had the opportunity to visit. And Nick, my dear brother, it is so good to see you down in the bricks. You know what I'm saying? I was down there a couple of weeks ago at Rabbit Hole Farm, and Nick came out to support. My brother is always supporting me in everything. I love that. That's what family is all about. But here we are, Nick. What's going on? I know you got some phone calls too about where we at. So what's up? Are you happy to be back with the UnRead Book Review?
Oh, of course, without a doubt, absolutely. You know, I missed our community. Of course, I missed you in this space, discussing books, but I missed our community and all of the love we've been getting and all the conversations we've been having. So yeah, it's long overdue. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, it felt like a forever break, but it wasn't that long, because we come to y'all every 2 weeks. So it's already that little 4 week in between, but this felt like forever, man. Wow, we can't be doing that no more.
That's true. That's a fact.
Can't be doing that no more. We got to find a way to give them what they want all the time. Hey, right. Look, we got some great things coming up. Nick and I have been sitting down and doing some planning. We got some great books that we'll be bringing to you. Then we always got our surprise books, because we always trying to catch each other off guard, because that's what we do. You know what I'm saying? That's but also we got some great guests. Nick, are you excited about some of these guests we got get ready to come up? Oh man, yeah. Should we even tell them? Should we tell them like two? No. Tell them 1, 2. No. They can keep waiting. Maybe we'll tell them at the end. Maybe make them stick around for a little while. Right. But hey Nick, look, I don't know what book you got going on, but as I said, we got fall studies going on. So most of our books are kind of related to what's going on in our fall studies. So I picked one up off the shelf that kind of ties into what we'll be talking about later in winter in the same Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery. Anybody that has not been following that series that we are doing, please check it out. It's called Unmasking Morality. You can check it out on my channel. I'm sure Nick has it on his. We are talking about some serious things here, and the book I'll be talking about today will be tying that in. So I'm very excited about that. What about you, Nick?
Oh, yep. I'm excited about this conversation on morality. I tapped into one of the private conversations that we had several weeks ago, and that was a great, powerful, insightful conversation with Brother Max. So shout out to him. And I'm not a part of fall studies this year, but I wish I was. I just have too much going on right now, and I'm like, can I add one more thing in there to to my already hectic schedule and itinerary? Maybe not. Maybe not. But I will be there next fall, because I didn't get a chance to get into that retiring family karma. Definitely want to get into that. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to have today in the book that you're going to be reading. That you're going to be offering. And before we get into that. I don't know if you moved or shifted something on your camera, but you got a big.
You know what? I was just realizing I got this ray of sunshine on me. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, I don't know. Is that bet? Like, I don't know. The sun is following me.
It's a little bit better. If you go back the way you just went, that's a little bit better.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Let me tell you something. We've had some cold, chilly days up here, and I guess Saturn, one of my leading guiding planets, was like, let the baby have some sunshine today.
Right.
Thank you. But anyway. But yes, I'm very excited. And you know what? We miss you in fall studies. And one of the things that we are doing this year that's a little bit different, since we kind of shrunk the group. And so what we've been doing is sharing a couple of pieces online here and there, just giving some highlights of what we've been talking about. But we can't give too much because you should be here. Sorry. Anyway, let's start talking about these books. You always let me go first. I'm gonna let you go first today because I'm excited about this title that you were sharing. I was looking at the title and I was like, "Ooh, it sounds mystical." So, tell me what you got going on, Nick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the title sounds mystical, but it's not too mystical because I know we use this term in different contexts. But the title of the book and my offering for this week is called Shapeshifters by Aimee Meredith Cox.
Ooh.
And the subtitle of it is Black Girls in the Choreography of Citizenship.
Nice.
Yes. So so I gotta add some clarity to that shapeshifter. So we're not talking about reptilians and lizard people. We're not talking about those type of shapeshifters.
Okay.
It's about a different type of shapeshifters.
Okay.
We're talking about how we as humans, how we shapeshift according to our environments and people we're interacting with. So it's more on that side of it rather than your David Icke type of shapeshifters.
Okay. It sounds amazing. And Nick always put the books down in the description. So, like I said, if any of you guys pick up these books, let us know. Let us know what you thought. I mean, because we bring you these books not just because we haven't read ours, but we thinking that other people might want to read some of these awesome books too. So, Nick, come on, that's a powerful sounding book. What made you pick this one?
Right. So I think we've had conversations in past episodes of UnRead about books speaking to us. And during our planning session, you asked me, what book are you going to bring? Because this is the week that we know what each other is bringing. And I'm like, I'm not sure what to bring. And for some reason, this book just came to mind. I don't know if it was because I saw the picture that the author and myself took together recently, but for some reason this book came to mind even before our most recent planning session, when I was just thinking about what would I bring to the next episode of UnRead. And I was thinking about books that on my shelf that I haven't touched yet, haven't read at all. And I thought about books that I've read before, but I haven't read in a long time. And this book fit the category of the latter. This is a book that I read a long time ago, I think back in 2017, and I haven't really picked it up, opened it, looked at it, reviewed it since then. And the way I came across this book was through an email invitation notification from Rutgers University Newark. I signed on to their email list to receive information about events that were going on campus. At the time, I mean, I've always worked in Newark, but at the time I was in walking distance of Rutgers Newark, from my place of employment and also from where I was living in Newark at the time. And this email came in 2016. As a matter of fact, when I went to the event, the book discussion, I got a flyer, a program for the event, and I still have it. It was actually inside the book. So this is the flyer from the program from the event.
Nice.
You see the date on there, March 10th, 2016.
Yes. Okay.
Rutgers University, Newark. A talking book signing with Aimee Meredith Cox.
Okay.
With the welcoming remarks from Wendell P. Holbrook, Associate Professor, Department of African American and African Studies.
Okay.
And then on the back, it has, of course, her bio and the blurb about the book, which I will transition to next.
Okay.
And I'll read it off the book since the flyer is a little faded, since I had it for so long.
Don't you love that?
Yeah. Yes, I do. These artifacts, you could call them artifacts.
Yes.
So this book, Shapeshifters, it falls into the African American studies / women's studies genre. You want to call it genre or concentration, whatever term you want to use. But it says in Shapeshifters, Aimee Meredith Cox explores how young Black women in a Detroit homeless shelter contest stereotypes, critique their status as partial citizens, and negotiate poverty, racism, and gender violence to create and imagine lives for themselves. Drawing on 8 years of field work at a local shelter for women and girls, Cox shows how the shelter's residents, who range in age from 15 to 22, employ strategic methods she characterizes as choreography to disrupt the social hierarchies and prescriptive narratives that work to marginalize them. Among these are dance and poetry, which residents learn in shelter workshops. These outlets for performance and self-expression, Cox shows, are key to the residents exercising their agency, while their creation of alternative family structures demands a rethinking of notions of care, protection, and love. Cox also uses these young women's experiences to tell larger stories of Detroit's history: the Great Migration, deindustrialization, the politics of respectability, and the construction of Black girls and women as social problems. With Shapeshifters, Cox gives a voice to young Black women who find creative and non-normative solutions to the problems that come with being young, Black, and female in America.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yep. And who is Aimee Meredith Cox? Who is the author? She is, well, at the time of this publication, I didn't get a chance to do a quick search to see if she's still is in this role, or if she has other books, other titles. But at the time of this publication, she was the assistant professor of African and African American Studies at Fordham University. And this book was published by Duke University Press in 2015.
Wow. Okay. Well, so it was fairly new when you got it then.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Wow.
Yep.
Just on the sidebar, you said that you had went to an author signing, so that means the author was there. What was kind of the reception of that book, and what in the context of it from the people who were intended? Just by the way, I went to Rutgers for a little while myself.
Yes, I remember that.
Politics for women, pow, pow. But what was kind of the vibe? What was the convo like?
Goodness, you're asking me to go back all these years. Goodness, I
mean, did it get spirited, or was it like just a kind of the author was just talking to people, or were people really kind of engaged in? Okay,
gotcha. From my memory, it was, I think there was, there was some engagement, some Q&A going on, but from what I remember, it was mostly the author, discussing the book, discussing some of the major themes and reading, sharing some, reading the passages. So I wouldn't say it was really spirited in terms of passion and in terms of the back and forth, but the audience was very, very engaged in the conversation. And then there's the autograph there.
Of course. Of course.
I can
Nick and I go through this, y'all. This is a brother and sister rivalry right here. We collect signed books. You know what I mean?
Signed books and pictures. I can put the picture real quick.
Some albums if we can get it, right?
I can pull up the picture too while we're talking.
Okay.
But when
excuse you, just show off.
As I read this book, like I said, I didn't read it until 2017, so I held on to it for a little bit. But when I did get into actually reading it, I had some pretty significant, moderate to significant annotations in there. So I had some sticky notes as well as some underlines and highlights. And so I did actively read this book. It wasn't just one of those type of books that you just read, you just get through it and you put it down. I did digest it, did annotate, take notes and digest it. So it was one of those active reading books. And one thing that I do remember from her discussion was that she did not want to make this an overly academic kind of book. It is, like I mentioned in the blurb, it is based on field work, so it is research based, but she wrote it in the form of a narrative, so it came across in that way as stories and as anecdotes rather than super academic and researchy, like according to a study by blah 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 blah,
Right.
So she was actually in the field at the shelter telling these young women stories in the way that you would read, maybe a biography or an autobiography or a memoir. So it was in the narrative format more than a very formal research paper, doctorate, dissertation type of writing.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure you can appreciate that as an educator in literature yourself. So let me ask this, because the art of storytelling is something that our people have passed down for generations and generations. And it sounds like in this book, you're saying in her attention to not make it academic. If you could pick an anecdote or a story that kind of stood out to you and the things that you highlighted, or a topic or theme, what would it be? One of your carryaways? What are the things that really stood out to you?
Well, without opening the book and picking one out, I know one thing that definitely stood out to me and that I remember from the conversation was the perception of sending young women out on their own. So the perception is that these are young women, they're young, they're pretty, they're attractive, so it shouldn't be a problem to kick them out of the house because there's going to be a man or someone that's just going to take them in and take care of them. And that's a misconception, as you can see in the women that were living in the shelter. They usually let the young men stay home as long as they want, but they're quicker to kick the women out on their own because they believe that someone would just take them in and take care of them. So there are some anecdotes in there about that and some commentary about that. So that's definitely one thing that stood out to me.
Right. I think we even still see that in a lot of homes today. the difference between raising a male, a male child, female child. And yeah, it's interesting because that was 2016 or 2015, 2016 when she wrote that work. And I'm thinking about what was going on in the world then, and how we were not where we are now, but we were quickly moving that way. And if you were, excuse me, I have running cars going by, but if you were kind of checking the temperature of the world, the world at the time that she wrote that book, you could see we were quickly rising in some of what we see now. Parenting, and I'm saying this as a parent, parenting for many was a fast, loose kind of thing. And what I mean by that is, many people that had children at that time that were, either teenagers or enough to quote unquote be put out to the street. A lot of those parents didn't even have an opportunity to parent because they were children themselves trying to work and take care and raise children. Now, we're not going to say this is anybody's fault, but we can trace it back to, what she was saying, even in the title of the book. This is part of the dance that's taught, even subconsciously, that this is how you do. This is the turnout. You go out here, you stand on your toes and you swirl around and somebody's going to come and save you. And, I guess for some people that's true, but for many it's not. And so the problems that can cause and the trauma that can cause, and just the beginning of cycles and patterns even, can definitely be, I'm sure can be seen in this work. So it sounds fascinating. Definitely one that I want to get on my shelf for sure.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. So I opened to a page. Well, what I'll do is let me show the picture first, and then I will give you Aimee's definition of shape-shifting and choreography, and then I'll see if we have another anecdote, another story that I can share from the book, and then I will pass it back to you. So here is the picture from
Yes.
yes. Yep, one of those got off of work and went over to the event type of.
I feel you.
Yep.
I feel you. Okay, show off, but it's all right. It's all right.
Yep. So that's the picture, all right. And she, before getting into the research and the stories, she defines some of the terms, and of course the citations are in there, and I can also go to that as well, because this is a research-based book, so there are plenty of sources, and I'll show that to you as well. So I'll just go ahead and read about shape-shifting. So it says, the meaning of shape-shifting that I find to be most usefully aligned with the cultural work of Black girls, oddly enough, comes from an introduction to a series of logic puzzles that explains how to cognitively approach resolving the puzzles. Here, shape-shifting is defined as a method used to find solutions, master concentration, recall, recontextualize ideas, and map out plans.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
She's using that definition of shape-shifting. Wow.
Yeah. It almost made me think about code switching. It's simple said it, the way we have to twist and contort and bend ourselves to be able to fit into said system, and do it the right way. Wow.
Yep.
That's very interesting.
Yes. And choreography goes hand in hand with shape-shifting. She describes choreography as shape-shifting made visible. Choreography is embodied meaning making, physical storytelling, effective physicality, and an intellectualized response to the question of how movement might narrate texts that are not otherwise legible. Wow. Choreography, in its most radical sense, can disrupt and discredit normative reading practices that assess young Black women's bodies as undesirable, dangerous, captive, or out of place.
Wow. Wow. Now, is she a dancer, or does she have a dance background?
That's a good question.
Because I'm wondering what brought her to see the deep connection between the two.
Okay, let me see. Let me look at her bio, see if it's mentioned in her bio.
I'm just wondering about that.
Right. Well, it says down here towards the bottom of her bio, it says she trained on scholarship with the Dance Theater of Harlem and toured extensively as a professional dancer.
There you go.
With the Alvin Ailey Repertory Ensemble.
And there you have it.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
If Alvin Ailey touch you, you go. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, that was the dream for a lot of little girls growing up. You know what I'm saying? Be able to dance with one of the most profound dance troops there was in the time, you know. So yes, I definitely, because that was the first, I was like, the way she explained the choreography, I was like, oh, she have to be a dancer, or at least study dance in some kind of way. So that is a great connection, and I love that she used that imaging to be able to talk about something that's so systematically, you know, embedded in our communities. So that's really awesome. And you know what? You know, it even ties into the morals thing. It really does, you know, because why do we learn and why do we do what we do? You know what I mean? Why do we bend and twist the way that we do? What do we, you know what I'm saying? How do things change foundationally when we find out that what we've had is not what's needed in the environment that we're in? So definitely sounds like a great read. Do we have anything from our audience? Is anybody tapping in? Is anybody asking questions?
I got let me go. Let me switch over to that screen. Let me go over to the
y'all. Come on now. We do this because we love it, but we do this also as an opportunity to share and hear what our community is talking about. Because again, the future is in our hands and in the children's hands that we have in our lives. So be it, you know, mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles, aunties, you know, this is our space. This is our responsibility to see how we can help to guide these youth. And I mean, all these books ain't sitting around for nothing.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know, I don't have any statistic numbers, but I know a whole bunch of books get published every day. So we got a lot of books going on. You know, I just want to shout out to Bobby Hemmett real quick, because he said one time when we were in space with him, he said, whenever you are sitting down and you're talking and ambulances and fire trucks and all of that is going by, you talking about something worth talking about. So
I love it.
I done had fire trucks, ambulance, police, the state boys, everybody done rode past here. So we doing something right, and I'm loving it. So, I mean, what else do you want to share with us from this book? I mean, it seems like she got some beautiful pictures in there. Like, is it full of illustrations?
Oh yeah, I could share the. Yeah, I could definitely share the. Definitely share the illustrations, and like I said, I'll share. You know, I'll share maybe one more passage that's more of a anecdotal field works excerpt of a story, and then we can take a look at the references. So we can take a closer look at I don't think there's any photos within the book, but we can take a closer look at the cover. I think the cover is the only image there. So I'll go ahead and bring this up closer, and I'll put it on the big screen. Let me just get the put myself on.
It's beautiful.
I remember how to I remember how I did this. Oh, wait a
Don't ask me. You know I'm not the tech girl.
minute.
I can only
I
I
get the
get it
light.
right. I get it right.
Yeah, hold on. Let me do this. Let me do
Okay.
this. I gotta click view on.
Well, while we waiting for Nick to figure out how to get this picture up for all of us, please make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and IG so you know what's going on at Mr. Westbrook's, on IG. And hey, what? Come on, you gotta let them know. They gotta find you. We gotta know what's going on. But apparently somebody know where we at because they was letting us know they missing us, right? So make sure you comment, share, subscribe, get notifications from when we are doing different things because we got some great stuff coming up. We even running back over to Clubhouse for a minute. So it's about to get interesting. So did we figure out how to see this beautiful book cover?
Yes, yes. As soon as I start speaking, and then I'll be on the screen myself. All right, so let me get that light out of the way so we can remove the glare. All right, just let me know. Let me know if that's good right there, or do I need to bring it closer or pull it back a little bit?
Closer, a little
Closer, like that. Right
Yes.
there is good. Okay.
Still got a little glare on it, but
Okay.
we can see her beautiful face.
Pull
That is lovely artwork. Is she? What is she holding? A lantern?
Yeah, it looks like it could be a lantern.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All
See,
right.
tighten up. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. I would love to see what that author has done since then, and maybe see if we can get a follow up even to that book if there's been some more work done, some more studies done in that area.
Right. I would be curious about that.
I'll tell you like this. Unfortunately, shelters have gotten a lot bigger than 2015, 2016. We would hope that it would be the opposite direction, but we know there are a lot more unhoused men, women, and children. And so it would be interesting to see how her work applies to what's going on right now in those kind of spaces. I think you being an educator, I know you've worked in some of those spaces. I worked in some of those spaces when I lived in Newark and in North Carolina, so I know that the need is real to be able to lift your self-esteem up, be able to get yourself back out there and do all of that, from a space sometimes that is so limited. So what a wonderful offering from the sister. In 8 years of study, that's just 8 years of research. I love that. Such a dedication.
Yes, yeah. That's definitely some time, and the book definitely reflects all of that time of research, and not only doing the book research, but actually putting yourself into that setting, being a I think they call it a participant observer or something like that. But yeah, she actually came down to the ground level, with these young women, and put herself in there rather than standing on the outside looking in and just doing the theoretical research. But of course, with with these higher advanced degrees, you are required to do some level of field research. But it looks like she really immersed herself into into this project. And she wasn't just doing it to get it done and get a degree or whatever the whatever the situation was. It looked like she really had an interest in this project and these young women. So I'll finish off with a passage about. All right, so on page 114, I made a note about going to school versus finding a job. So that must have been the theme that that came up. But I'm going to go over to 115 and read a couple of sentences about one of the inner circle meetings. They have these inner circles where these discussions happen, during the week between the residents and the resident assistants. And I'll look at some of the highlights that I have here. So it says, and then, obviously I haven't read this in a long time, so I don't remember the context of what I'm reading, but maybe you'll be able to grasp the context based on the brief excerpt that I do read. Former residents who had left the shelter as long as a year earlier still returned faithfully to be a part of the inner circle. In addition, residents were allowed to bring their friends and family members as long as they had permission from the group. And Lynette always kept the group guessing which one of her eclectic friends she would invite to share their unique brand of knowledge based on personal experience, empathy, and intuition. They called themselves poets, massage therapists, relationship counselors, quote unquote diviners, and quote unquote goddesses. And they mesmerized the girls with their open spirits and genuine desire to connect with the residents. One day, Lynette's friend Sa'at came to talk to the girls about the power of thought and the importance of having an open heart to receive blessings and experience self-transformation. Initially, the conversation was lively as the girls talked over each other, offering stories about times when they changed their luck through prayer or quote unquote felt a troubling situation brewing before it occurred. But the conversation stopped when Sa'at pulled out her crystal pendulum and explained that she was going to test the openness of our hearts. If the pendulum swung energetically, it would signal an open heart. If it moved lethargically or barely at all, it would mean the opposite. So I'll stop there because that's where my highlighting stopped on that page. So for some reason that passage really stood out to me, but that's an example of some of those anecdotal artifacts that Miss Cox documented in this book. And just to end off, I said I would mention the notes and the citations. She took included copious notes and citations, plenty of end notes, and I'll show them to you. So we have end notes from each chapter. Very, very extensive end notes from each chapter. That's the introduction there. Extensive list of references. That's all references there. All sources, all references, more references.
Wow.
Very extensive.
Well, I mean, you know what? I wouldn't expect anything less with 8 years of study.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Yep. Even on this page that I stopped at, I see she got some bell hooks up in here. Got Education Week. Yeah, very extensive research, and like you said, for 8 years of study. So I've been talking for a while, so I'll go ahead and stop there. Again, this is Shapeshifters, Black Girls in the Choreography of Citizenship by Aimee Meredith Cox, and that is my offering on this episode, this edition, episode 13 to be exact. UnRead Book Review.
Yes. That is awesome. Thank you, Nick. One last thought on that, as I was thinking about when I said that I knew she had to have some kind of dance background. I wonder whether the dance inspired the work or the work inspired the dance. Like how she tied those together, how she saw the interactions. Because I think about sometimes when we think about dance, we think about a certain kind of dancing. Right. But I've seen Alvin Ailey and so I know they move in such a methodical and deliberate way, and so this work seems very deliberate as well. And I love that she introduced them to different methods of healing, because we know that many times we think something has to be one way, but everything doesn't work for everybody. So the fact that she brought all of these eclectic people in and just allowed them to find what resonates with them is awesome.
Yeah, and that was actually the work of the women that worked at the shelter in agreement with the young women that were living at the shelter to invite guests in and you know different folks with different backgrounds to come and join the inner circle to share. And
I love that.
then,
I wonder if they're still doing it. That would be amazing.
That'd be very amazing. That would be very amazing. So actually, all right, this is the last thing. I figured since you brought up the dance thing, I figure I should just go ahead and give the full background of, because I did mention that she was a professor at Fordham, but I might as well go ahead and talk about some of the other things she's done and, you know, leading up to the publication of this book. So she's a cultural anthropologist, and I mentioned she's a professor at Fordham in African American Studies. So she received her PhD in anthropology from the University of Michigan, where she also held a postdoctoral fellowship with the Center for the Education of Women. All right, so yep, this is her first book. Says she was on the editorial board of the Feminist Wire and on the founding editorial board of Public, a journal of imagining America. She's also an executive board member, or she was, I'm not sure, of the board member of the Association of Black Anthropologists, former co-editor of Transforming Anthropology, the peer-reviewed journal of the ABA. And I mentioned the dance theater. She was a Ford Foundation postdoctorate fellow and in 2013, 2014, visiting professor in NYU's anthropology department. So that's some other information about her. Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So this is a work of anthropology right here.
You know how I feel about anthropology, Nick. You know, we've had conversations about how I feel about anthropology. Yeah. That is amazing. Mm-hmm. What amazing accomplishments.
Yes. Wow. Indeed. Yes. I know I gave you the physical anthropology book. So this is a work of cultural anthropology.
Yes.
So we had conversations about physical, cultural anthropology, or we also call physical anthropology biological anthropology when I'm taking that class. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow, that is just, you know what a wonderful sister. I mean, like I said, I think we should do some further research, see what else she got out there, see if we can get another couple of her books, or maybe even her. Right. Since you got a picture. Indeed. Since you got a picture, you know. Well, you know what, Nick, that's an awesome offering, and thank you for that. And I'm like, now I'm just like, I done heard everything I wanted to hear. I'm finished now. No, but
we want to hear yours.
No, but I definitely see how we could tie that into when we get ready to start to talk about the children and the education and, you know, introduction to the moral compass and things like that. I could definitely see that being one of the books we kind of refer to and see what she has to say about that inner landscape. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, is affected when we are raised in a trauma-like situation. So I would definitely like to see that. Because, you know, being in shelters and in places like that is definitely traumatic, you know, for whatever reason, whether you're there for a day or for 100 days. And this I know from experience. But so my book, this book right here, like I said, it kind of ties into what we are working on right now, Unmasking Morality. It's Christopher Hitchens, Thomas Paine's Rights of Man. Now, one of the things that I have to say that I like about this book is that it's somebody's interpretation of somebody's interpretation of somebody's interpretation. So, you know, Christopher Hitchens, you know, let's talk about him. He's a contributing editor to Vanity Fair and visiting professor in liberal studies at the New York School in New York City. His books include Why Orwell Matters, Thomas Jefferson's Author of America, and God is not great, How Religion Poisons Everything. So this book is actually a book that is part of the series they call that Books That Change the World. And the reason why they have it, well, I would say the reason why they have it listed there is because they consider Thomas Paine's Rights of Man one of the first places where we started to shape, or the shape of government in the United States of what we consider North America began. So let's jump in here. So who is Thomas Paine? Thomas Paine was one of the greatest advocates for freedom in history. His Declaration of the Rights of Man first was published in 1791 and is the key to his reputation. Paine's text is a passionate defense of man's inalienable rights, and ever since the day of publication, the work has been celebrated, criticized, maligned, suppressed, and co-opted. Christopher Hitchens, who has been called a Tom Paine for our troubled times, is a political descendant of the great pamphleteer. And in this fascinating book, he marvels its forethought and revels in its contentiousness. Hitchens also demonstrates how Paine's book forms the philosophical cornerstone of the United States, and how in time, when both rights and reason were under attack, the life and writing of Thomas Paine will always be a part of the arsenal on which we will need to depend. Now, I want us to keep that last line in mind. We will always be a part of the arsenal we need to depend, because I don't even want to jump in front of myself, but let's talk about this book. So Thomas Paine's Right of Man, one of the things was, at the time, one of the popular things to do was to read someone else's work and then write a critique of it. Even what happens now, somebody will write something and then somebody will write to say what they thought of it and what they stand on, what they don't, what they think is relevant and not. And this book is no different. So basically, this book was based on a treatise that was done in France. So I gave myself some notes on this one, because one of the key things that I wanted to mention was this work, Thomas Paine's Rights of Man, was based on the critique of Edmund Burke's conservatism. And it says it's a direct response to Edmund Burke's reflections on the revolution in France, which defended the monarchy and criticized the French Revolution. Paine critiques Burke's conversation, arguing that it is outdated, harmful, clinging to tradition and privilege instead of embracing progress and liberty. So when how did this book come to be on my unread or on my shelf at all? So we do a lot of work with the prisons, and we've done that for almost 30 years now, and we are always talking about rights, and this fall winter study, we are talking about human rights, as we always do in December. Nick will let y'all know we always have fun during Human Rights Week. Hope you'll join us this year. We're gonna have some real fun, most high willing. So this book here was an opportunity for me to pick up a writing that was written after the so-called story of human rights, which is offered by the United Nations in terms of the rights of human beings. And so I wanted to see what Thomas Mann had to say on the rights of man. And, and in this particular book, they talk about how it shapes political power and who should be in charge and who decides. Because if you remember, that was the thing that was, the big question when talking about morals and virtues, principles and characteristics and character. Who decides what's correct and who decides what's not? Who can say, something is right or wrong? And the thing that I asked you to hold on to about this particular reading on the back, it says that Thomas Paine's work will always be a part of the arsenal on which we need to depend. So every time they get ready to look at ways to improve things, they always rely back on this same type of information. So my question always is if we keep ending up in this same space, why do we hold on to these same things? You literally wrote this book talking about holding on to, how do you say, outdated and harmful tradition and privilege instead of embracing progress and liberty. And isn't that what we're seeing right now, where we are? Right now, every time we get ready to talk about changing something, they want to remind us, well, this was said and this was what was done. Yes, and it got us where we are now. So this book got on my shelf because it's going to be part of our discussions coming up in the winter after we finish with Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery by Dr. Naeem Akbar. So I wanted to read this passage here. The name of Paine will always be indissolubly linked with those resonant words, the rights of man. The book which bears the notable title, however, is not just a paean to human liberty. It was partly a short-term book directed at the particular work of Edmund Burke, Reflections on the Revolution of France, and a very exceptional contribution to the energetic pamphlet wars that made the late 18th century in its clubs and pubs and coffee houses and print shops and live during the Britain and France, during the period of Britain and France in America. So if you remember me saying in here, this gentleman is a family member, a descendant of Paine's, and so he's going in and critiquing this work, and he's doing basically the same thing. He's taking the work of the former and breaking it down and seeing how some of the things of old were still being held on to even now. It goes on to talk about how he matched his moral imperative for survival, which is only barely, if at all, a right. And so he's asking, even if survival is a right that someone can give you or take away. So, I mean, it's an interesting book. Like I said, it's a critique of a critique of a critique. So the way we were going in is critiquing it based on the work of Naeem Akbar's, book, The Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery, and seeing how that work ties into some of the things that are being repeated and taught even now. And this is why we have the state of being, immorality and lack thereof in the communities now. So that's how this book got on my unread list, but it's definitely going down in the winter, most high willing, because we're going to tear that John apart. That's what we're going to do.
All right.
So, any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I found it interesting, when we come into these situations and we have these conversations about starting something new or talking about what what we should be doing or what's been done eons and eons ago that we gotten away from. So when it comes to these principles that this author is discussing in Thomas Paine's work, this is more of a, this is not necessarily a question that I'm asking you to answer, but this is more so a question for the author. And I would ask him, and maybe he might touch on this in this book, depending, and it also depends on when his book was published. And I'll also ask about that, as well as when Thomas Paine's original work was published. But what does it look like in 2024 following these principles? Let's get really specific about what we're talking about. You know, we have lots of conversations about the Constitution, especially in the political realm. You know, we have all these conversations about following the amendments or not following the amendments, or it's so wrong if certain amendments or principles that are mentioned in the Constitution are not being followed or being adhered to. So what does it look like in this contemporary time? That's a question that I'm very curious about. And maybe you can speak to whether he discusses, maybe examples of how it looks in our current society, or maybe even give anecdotes on current events that were contemporary to that book's publishing.
Well, thank you. Definitely all worthy questions, and all ones that we also kind of have on the table. Because in the beginning of winter fall studies, when we're being introduced to the books that we'll be using, we always write down questions that we may have before we even crack the books, you know. Mm-hmm. And definitely one of the questions was, what does it look like now in 2024 and moving forward with all this current talk, especially with these elections and things of that nature coming up? Because
what you laughing about?
I'm sorry, you know, we book nerds, so certain things just really make us laugh. So let me answer the question first. When was Thomas Paine's original work done? It was done and published in 1791.
Okay. So this is well after the American Revolution and America's independence,
after the French Revolution, French American, right?
And after, you said 1796, right?
1791.
Oh, 1791. Okay, so I'm trying to think, when was this, before, during, or after the Constitution? I haven't been in AP U.S. history in 15 years, so I don't remember when the Constitution was written, but I would like to put it in context with those other historical documents and events. But continue on.
Absolutely, no, definitely, and I mean those are great things. It says, because this is what it talks about next. It says to have in hand two revolutions. As Paine's letter was exalt after his first adventures in France, it was living to some purpose. He was optimistic and certain with both the revolutions of 1776 and 1789 were to disillusion him in several ways. But his actual influence on revolutionary change can be felt in many more than two countries, including the nation of his birth and its Irish and Scottish and its Welsh constituents. So it says, wait a minute, where else did I want to go with that? I'm sorry, I lost that page. Oh, this is what made me giggle. Okay. When you asked about the dates and all of that stuff like that, and I said, we've talked about before how you got to pay attention to little things like dedications and all kinds of stuff like this. Now, this book, like I said, Thomas Paine This young man, Christopher Hitchens, is a relative of his.
Yeah, I have a question.
Here's who the book is dedicated to.
Okay.
Dedicated by permission to President Jalal Talabani, the first elected president of the Republic of Iraq. Oh, boy, stop. Ah.
Oh. Uh-oh. Think we lost Rue right when it was getting good. But it looks like she's back though.
Look at that. That's how you know you're doing something right. That's how you know, right there.
Yeah, right when it was getting good.
Oh yeah. So I'll start again just for that reason. Just for that reason. Dedicated by permission to the president, Jalal Talabani, the first elected president of the Republic of Iraq, sworn foe to fascism and theocracy, leader of a national revolution and a people's army, in the hope that his long struggle will be successful and will inspire emulation. Huh? What you say?
Very interesting there.
What you say?
Very interesting.
I thought so.
Yeah, because you just took it a whole other direction. Because I was thinking about something else, and you just threw in you just took the steering wheel and said, "No, we going this way with it."
Well, look, I'm only doing what they did. You know
I mean, by you bringing that up, because I was thinking, I was kind of just kind of marinating on this guy is a descendant or relative of Thomas Paine. I was thinking something with that, but then you added that in there. You added that into the pot and mixed it up and stirred the pot a little bit. I'm like, oh, huh. Now I don't know. Now I don't know what to think. Now I don't know what questions to ask. I'll do that. I don't know what question to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know what, I'll say this. And this is where, for me, as a researcher, we'll go back now and examine Thomas Paine's whole work and Edmund's whole work in my time, like, not part of the false slaves, but in my own time. And the reason why I say that is because it talks about the oligarchy in here. It talks about so many things. I mean, it opens talking about Martin Luther King. So I mean, he is just like all over the place with this book. And I think about how they say this is one of the books that changed the world. It changed, the work of Thomas Paine and the work of the United Nations and all these things, they all tie together. And, like you said, the Constitution and lack thereof, actual application in the way that it's supposed to be. It talks about the Osage Indians. And I mean, this book covers everything, the Bible included. So it's just like they use Thomas Paine's Rights of Man as basically the blueprint, what they're saying, as to how we should run what we got going on over here, based on a paper and work and the problems that were going on in France. And that's a whole different space with a whole different people, with a whole different culture, with different traditions and everything. So the fact that this is the foundation of what we got going on here make you ask some questions anyway.
Right.
They make you ask some questions anyway. And I know this is probably going to be rather controversial to say, but we always got the nerve to be talking about and criticizing how somebody else is doing stuff. And it's like, even pay attention to how we doing stuff. You know, it's like what made you look to that to decide and shape what was going on over here, and then turn around and dedicate the book the way you did. I'm just wondering, you know, where do we stand? And the fact that he also wrote a book about Thomas Jefferson and him being the author of America. The author of America. So to be the author, I mean, you write the story, right? So
that's what that
he
means.
wrote the story of America. So that's who did it, Thomas Jefferson. Okay. And you know, I'm not even going to touch about the God part, because you know we can do God girl stuff all the time. But why Orwell matters also caught my attention. You know, as a literature teacher, you know, George Orwell is something, you know, that, you know, you jump into that, you looking into all kinds of things in terms of blueprints for philosophies and ways to run things. And what should, you know, and the hierarchy and things of that nature. So
he must have some deep analysis of Animal Farm if he's talking about, you know, the represent the French and the French Revolution and all that.
Absolutely. Like I said, you know, I can't give all of Christopher Hitchens all of his critiques, but again, being familiar with Thomas Paine's Rights of Man, because I was familiar with it before, that's what made me get the book, and being familiar with Edmund's work on the French Revolution is what made me come to this. So when we do go into this in the winter phase of our studies after finishing with Naeem Akbar's book, I'll be able to better give an update. Maybe we'll do a little update and see where he stands on that. And like I said, this book was done 2006. We can see where he stands on it now. Especially, wow. And again, like I said, especially with this being an election year, so to speak, and for all the people who deal with that energy, and you know what that looks like moving forward in the shape of this nation and what it means for us as a people. And you know, because that's one of the things that kind of made me want to delve into this book too, was, like I said, he dedicated the book he did, and in the introduction he mentioned Martin Luther King. So it's like I see him trying to be all inclusive, but is that realistic? Because what was going on with us back then, it wasn't Martin Luther King, I can tell you that. 1791 ain't had nothing to do with Martin Luther King back then. You know, so my thing is, there was a whole different outlook on our people altogether in the first place in that age. So, you know, it's definitely a work worth delving into. Christopher Hitchens, Thomas Paine's Rights of Man ties into our morality theme for our fall and winter studies. And according to the author, it's a book that changed the world. So, yay. Any questions? Anybody got anything in our chat? You know, like I said, I don't have a lot to offer on this because we are still in the fall aspect of our study. So we still in the actual chains of psychological slavery. And believe me, it ties into this in that way. But right now, that's my offering on that book.
Great offering, by the way. Very interesting one, especially when you get into the background, like dedication and the previous works that he's done. And nothing in the chat right now, but just a kind of question to toss out. I mean, obviously we can speculate, you know, we can't really say for certain, but this is my teacher mind, my English teacher mind coming into play right now when we're analyzing literature, even before we crack open a book. And get into the meat of the book and we think about author's purpose, that's one of the lessons that we teach in the English classroom. We talk about or discuss author's purpose, and tied to author's purpose and their perspective and point of view, two other pieces, point of view and perspective. Point of view meaning from, is it written in the first person, second person, third person, and perspective meaning their lens, how they view a certain issue or their opinion on a certain issue. So I'll be speaking to the latter just to show you that. But first I wanted to show the distinction between point of view and perspective. But when it comes to perspective, I mentioned my interest in Mr. Hitchens being a descendant or relative of Thomas Paine. So my question would be, what kind of biases, or any, whether in favor or against Thomas Paine, come up in this book, since he is a descendant or relative of Thomas Paine? So I think it's very important to examine or kind of look for those biases that might come up as we're reading this book or any book or any written text or even speakers. If we're listening to someone talk or watching the video, their background or their experiences or who they're connected to, even with the dedication as well, all of those things are factors and can play a part in that person's biases, whether they're in favor of that topic, subject, or person, or if they're opposing or against that topic or person.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought that up, because let's read what some people had to say. Okay. Los Angeles Times says, a brief but potent mixing of biography, criticism, and philosophy. Okay, that's what the Los Angeles Times had to say. I like these ones on the back here.
Okay.
I'll read the one that's my favorite. Hitchens is in Paine's corner, but like a good trainer, he knows the other fighter's strengths. I thought that was a very interesting kind of analysis of a book. I was like, And then it says Hitchens, and that was by the New York Times that said that one, by the way. The London Times said Hitchens is at his characteristically incisive best in writing that champion of the oppressed, co-agitator of two revolutions, and eloquent proponents of the rights of man, Thomas Paine. So I guess they were very impressed. I guess so. And then Kirkus Reviews says, as with all Hitchens, well worth reading and arguing with. I thought that was interesting too. And Perspective in the UK says a brilliant portrait, because it is written in the form of a bit of a biography, because he does go through, the history. He talks about, Benjamin Franklin and all of this stuff like this. And again, I know it's a review of, but what I think that I'm looking for when I go in is I'm going to be looking for how it applies now. And why do we keep using this model if it's shown not to work? I think that's what I'm going in looking for when I pick this one up. I just, what do they say? Doing the same thing over and over again is a form of insanity. So, I know that they call Earth the loony bin, but are we all just going to stay loony up in here? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just wondering. So I'm definitely excited to get into the nuances of the book and really see. And it's not a big read. There's a lot of quotes in here. I will say that. There's a lot of quotes, and as you would think, because he's referring to Paine's work directly. Here's one. Here's one that I thought was interesting. Oh, it's so hard to have these conversations sometimes. It says Paine saw what was happening to the Indians and saw also that theft of their land and the threat to their existence came largely from Christianity, which was used as a hypocritical cover for greed. After the New York Missionary Society had staged a meeting with the leaders of the Osage Indians in order, or so they said, to present them with a copy of the Bible, Paine asked sarcastically what good this was intended to do. And this was exactly what he said. He said, will they, talking about the Osage Indians, learn sobriety and decency from drunken Noah and beastly Lot? Or will their daughters be edified by examples of Lot's daughter? Will not the shocking accounts of the destruction of the Canaanites when the Israelites invaded their country suggest the idea that we may serve them under the same manner? Or the accounts stir them up to do like our people on the frontiers, then just justify the assassination by the Bible and the missionaries that have given them to them? So yeah, I think, I think Thomas Paine was, I think he might have been a little bit sarcastic. I like that, Mm-hmm. I like that. He was like, what good is this going to do them? It's going to teach them so bright. And I often have feelings about the sobriety thing when it comes to quote unquote Native Americans. I really do. Because I always ask that question, where'd that problem come from? People always just harping on that, that fire, water. Yeah, listen, it's the stereotypes that be getting me sometimes, and just the lack of memory of where things came from. It's like how they gunned the street of Newark, like, where did this come from? Don't tell me you got a solution for something you made a problem. You know what I'm saying? You made it a problem. So as you can see, I get kind of spirited.
Oh, if they've been, if you've been with us, since the early episodes, you already know how she give it, how we give it up,
how we give it up.
If you're new, then you get, you're getting introduced. But if you've been here, or if you know Roo, you already know how she get down. This is just her.
This is just me. I'm sorry, y'all. Not sorry. But I'm just asking questions, and I think that's what I like about books like this. Because again, it's a critique of somebody's work, And I have a good friend who one of the things he loves to do with his group is give them a book to read and then tell them to write a short book about it. I think that's it's really interesting to watch that process take place with his group. But because it's about invoking you to think for yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things why this, work that we're doing with Dr. Naeem Akbar's work, the Unmasking Morality, you can't ask ask someone to answer a question without them being able to think for themselves, or they'll just be repeating something that was already said, i.e. through tradition, culture, programming, conditioning. If I reach the same conclusion after I thought about it myself with a clear, free mind, that's one thing. But if I answer questions based upon my conditioning or my programming, it's going to always be what you want it to be. And if we always using the same method, you're going to always get the same results. And so this work, while it may fly under the radar, like I said, they have it under books that change the world. So I guess it ain't flying under the radar, but I ain't heard nobody talking about it, And I mean, maybe because it's older, 2006, but you would think right now in the throes of what's going on in the world, more of these old books should be talked about. More of these old treaties and things should be talked about. Yeah. And how things came to be as they are in this place that we call North America, or Mexum, for those who know better.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And with these allegations, well, not allegations or accusations of, certain people on certain sides of the fence or certain sides of the coin, wanting to get rid of the Constitution.
Yeah, just it's interesting. When it comes to rights, and I think, even in planning the curriculum for fall and winter, I wanted it to be a lot more cohesive this year in terms of the actual books that we examined, because while it's great to go through something a number of times like we do with Retire to Family Karma, like if we're going to move the stick forward, or we have to examine what's going on right now and how do we change it without, because it's a big problem. It's not something that you could just unweave. We kind of talked about that before, and I even spoke about it in one of the videos. Again, go over and check out those other videos on Unmasking Morality, MaWu Lisa with a Z4610. Go over and check out some of those, because I talked about how it's like a ball of chains or a ball of thread. You're trying to get it loose. If you just yank it, you're just going to make it tighter. You're going to make it break. You're going to make it pop. So if we keep trying to go at it like that, we're never going to get an answer. But if you begin to unravel how it got to be this way in the first place and what model we keep trying to use to fix it, we might actually come up with a solution that actually works.
Indeed.
Yeah. Because guess what it was doing? Guess what it was doing before all of this? Working. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm not going to say it was perfect because I can't say where I was or what I was doing, but, I'm sure our ancestors, had their own thoughts on our rights. Mm-hmm. And what that looked like. And did you pin that question for me? Yes, at the top of? Okay, so if you could just read our question out for the people. Those are one of our contemplative questions. So this is the one for this particular book. So if you want to read it out for us.
Yep. Yeah. So if you're watching live, you can type your thoughts in the chat, or if you're watching on a replay, just leave a comment down below in response to this question, in which I'm about to read. And the question goes: how do we reconcile the principles of individual rights with the need for collective security and societal order in a world facing increasingly complex challenges?
That's a question, ain't it? Sheesh.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes. It is. Like, shoot, even me, I want to take some time and contemplate and meditate on that one.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm gonna tell you like this. I don't, when I was putting together the presentation for today, I always try to, based on the other work that I do, we always try to make sure we have a question that kind of moves again to stick forward. We are solution based. Anybody that does not know, working with MaWu Lisa Temple, working with Nick and Roo, we on solutions. We're not going to sit up here and just lament about the problem. We done heard enough of that, all of us. You know what I'm saying? It's enough of that going around. Everybody letting you know the problems. We are here for solutions. So we'll try a little bit of everything to get a solution. And one of the things is, again, getting us to start thinking. Even, this question is heavy.
Very heavy.
And you're going to have to dissect it. You got to ask yourself a lot of questions about your own thoughts on some of these things in order to be able to answer that question.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But definitely we'll have that question there. And I did pull out 2 points that I wanted to share about this work before we finish. Excuse me. It says Paine goes beyond simply advocating for political rights. He argues for social justice and economic equality, advocating for progressive policies like education, social safety nets, and more equitable distribution of wealth. He sees a society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, not just a privileged few. Okay. And the last one is, while Paine emphasizes peaceful reform, Rights of Man is ultimately a call for revolution, fundamental change, societal change, and he argues that the people have the right to overthrow tyrannical governments and establish a more just and equitable system. So that's Christopher Hitchens, my offering for this week. The Rights of Man, Thomas Paine, his ancestor, going in and critiquing his work. So that is mine, Nick. That one is mine, bro. What you think?
That's a very interesting work right there. I would say as a part of the fall studies, of course, I'm going to do my homework and do my assignment as a part of fall studies. But outside of that, I don't necessarily think that's a book that I'll add to my list, but just like I said, as a part of the conversation and to be informed, I would do the reading, but I don't think it's a book that really draws me in, although the issues are very important and like I said, interesting. You already know the premise of our show, UnRead, so I got plenty of unreads I got to get to. So that one would be very low, very low on the priority list for me.
Absolutely. And again, you know how we do with some of the books that we often even let people know. Some of these books we pick up for reference to tie to other works that we're doing, and this happens to be one of them, because I can tell you, outside of making it part of a bigger work, I wouldn't just buy it as an independent book to just read myself. Even though I can't say it's a bad read so far from what I've read, but again, I'm not interested in continuing to re-examine the problem that we already know.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know the problem. I'm living the problem. I got the right color to know the problem. I'm the right folk to know the problem. So some of them anyway. So And oh, for all those who love playing with words, I used the word color. Yes, I did. I know I'm not a color. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah, very good.
I love doing that. I love just poking fun at the folks who love to poke fun at me. But anyway, Nick, I think we might have did it. We might do another episode of UnRead. What you think? You think we done?
Oh yeah, I think we got another one. I won't say we got one. We got another one.
Got another one,
And
right? We
another
got
one.
another one.
Another hit.
another bang banger. So come on, let's show these books again. I got Christopher Hitchens, Thomas Paine's Right of Man. What you got over there, Nick? Shapeshifters.
Yeah, Shapeshifters. Aimee Meredith Cox.
Yes. We're gonna do some research and see what both of these authors are now and any new works that they may have offered to follow up to this work. I think that would be a great follow-up to do on a bonus video for those who would be interested to carry the conversation further.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. All right, Nick, listen, why don't you tell us what else you got coming up right now? Because we'll be back with UnRead again on the 2nd of November. And we're going to have a special offering that day. So y'all can't miss it. You got to be there. Turn the notifications on. Do not miss this opportunity to be a part of me. And listen, one of the up and coming, well, already up there stars of ours, but definitely still rising stars of ours. And I almost said his name. Ooh, you almost got me. I'm not going to say it, but check back. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that. Nick will throw some good promos up there, tease y'all out a little bit.
Right, but, because it is a surprise me week, right?
Yes, it is. So I'm excited. Well,
surprise them, surprise y'all. Now we know. Me and Roo know, but the y'all that's watching, it'll be surprised to y'all.
It'll be a surprise, that's for sure, and one that is welcome. I'm so excited. You know, this show, it allows us a space to be able to share something we love, books. It allows us to be able to do something we love, talk and share. So we love that we are able to share with you. Well, I'm going to finish it up by saying this is your sister, Roo, MaWu Lisa Temple, upstate New York, beautiful Hudson Valley. Get at us, Gmail, Mawulisatemple at gmail.com, IG at Mawulisatemple1, and on YouTube, you got to hit us over here at MaWu Lisa with a Z 4610. Subscribe, get with us, get those notifications. Nick, give them your information so they can also get notifications if they happen to miss mine. But I know y'all not, so don't.
Yeah, sure. And as a matter of fact, for the YouTube channel, if you're not subscribed to MaWu Lisa, you don't even got to search it up. All you got to do is go to the title of this video and click on that tag, and it'll take you right there. And it's also in the description. So very, very easy for them. And all the information that Roo just gave you as far as getting in contact with her, that's in the description as well as far as my information. But if you need to hear it verbally, it's Mr. Westbrooks on Instagram. And yeah, I think that's all I had down there. I mean, we're already on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching this program and you're not yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for the notifications. And you notice there's a slight change in the title of this channel. It went from Mr. Westbrooks to Mr. Westbrooks Class. And I did a slight rebranding there so we can encompass all of the content and programs that we have going on here. UnRead is formerly it was just a single program, and now I've added another program, another show to this channel, Supreme Numerics, which is my astro-numerology offerings, my lessons, my content on numerology. So if you're interested in that topic or even interested in astrology, there's a little bit in there as well. You can check out that other content that's on this channel, this same channel. So it's almost like Netflix. You can go on Netflix and you can watch the variety of shows. Variety of shows and movies and all of that. You got two two shows on this channel. You got UnRead and you got Supreme Numerics on this channel.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, hey, I think we done. Nick, let's I think we saying peace to everybody. Thank y'all for joining us again. We are excited. We'll see you again on November 2nd with our surprise meet guest. Do not miss it. Thank you for joining us on UnRead. This is your sister Roo. That's your brother Nick. Hey, we'll check you next time. Peace.